Imagine being seventh and eighth in line to the throne, living in a world of garden parties and fascinators, only to find out your family tree is less of a sturdy oak and more of a weeping willow currently being interrogated by the Metropolitan Police. Welcome to the world of Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie. While most families have a black sheep who ruins Christmas dinner by bringing up politics, the York sisters are dealing with a father whose guest list has historically resembled a who's who of international scandals. At 66, the former Duke of York has swapped the royal limelight for an 11-hour stint in detention on suspicion of misconduct in public office. The question isn't just what did Andrew do, but rather what happens to the daughters left standing in the fallout. Quick favor, if you are loving this deep dive into the velvet-lined corridors of power, hit that subscribe button. Over 92% of viewers haven't yet. It is free, takes a second, and means the world to us at Royal Fusion TV. Thank you if you did. Now, back to the show. February 19th was not your average Thursday for the House of Windsor. While King Charles was likely contemplating the merits of organic soil, his younger brother was being detained. 11 hours. That is longer than most flights to New York, and certainly longer than anyone wants to spend in a room with fluorescent lighting and lukewarm tea. The allegations? Misconduct in public office during his tenure as the United Kingdom's trade envoy, specifically concerning the sharing of information with the late Jeffrey Epstein. Now, Andrew has been released under investigation, but in the court of public opinion, the verdict was delivered long ago. But here is where it gets spicy. The fallout is not just hitting the man himself, it is raining down on Beatrice and Eugenie like a London downpour without a Burberry umbrella. How do you distance yourself from a father who is effectively the human personification of a PR disaster? For the York sisters, the royal in their title is starting to feel less like a privilege and more like a permanent ink stain. You see, the monarchy is a brand, and right now, the York branch is the equivalent of a software update that everyone keeps clicking remind me later on. Now, let us talk about the family dynamics, because this is where the plot thickens faster than a royal gravy. On one hand, you have King Charles, 77, who is said to remain very fond of his nieces. He is the classic indulgent uncle, perhaps wishing he could just send them a nice hamper from Fortnum and Mason and call it a day. But standing in the wings is Prince William. At 43, William is not playing games. He is the CEO in waiting, and he is looking at the company books with a very sharp red pen. William wants the York problem dealt with now. He does not want to inherit a throne that is still haunted by the ghosts of Epstein's private jet. Royal biographer Andrew Loney notes that William wants it all cleaned out before he ever wears the crown. It is a ruthless, corporate-style restructuring. In William's vision of a slimmed-down monarchy, the York sisters are not just on the periphery, they are increasingly being pushed off the map entirely. It is a classic tale of two futures, the king's nostalgic affection versus the prince's cold, hard pragmatism. If you thought the sisters were just innocent bystanders, the United States Department of Justice just entered the chat with some receipts. Newly released material has placed Beatrice and Eugenie right in the middle of the Epstein timeline. We are talking about a lunch at Epstein's Palm Beach mansion in 2009, just days after he was released from prison for solicitation of a minor. They were there with their mother, Sarah Ferguson. It is the ultimate wrong place, wrong time scenario, except the wrong place was a mansion belonging to a convicted sex offender. The files also suggest that Epstein was seeking palace tours for his acquaintances through the sisters. Whether they were young and naive or simply following orders is a debate for the dinner tables, but the optics are catastrophic. It is like finding out your favorite influencer's holiday photos were actually taken in a restricted zone. Royal historian Ingrid Seward says the sisters are tarnished by this, and it is hard to argue. When your name appears in the same sentence as Epstein files, the royal sparkle starts to look a bit like tarnish. Nothing says you are out of the club like being barred from the guest list of the year. Recent reports from early March suggest that Beatrice and Eugenie have been banned from attending Royal Ascot this spring. For the uninitiated, Royal Ascot is the Olympics of hats and horses. It is the most visible event on the royal calendar. For the sisters to be missing from the royal enclosure is not just a scheduling conflict, it is a public excommunication. It is the equivalent of being told you can't sit at the cool table in the cafeteria, Except the cafeteria is a world-renowned racecourse and the cool table is the British royal family. This move signals that the distance King Charles and Prince William are placing between the Crown and the Yorks is no longer a private suggestion, it is a public policy. The sisters are effectively being ghosted by the institution they were born into. This brings us to a very awkward question: what do they do now? Beatrice is 37 and works in international tech. Eugenie is 35 and a fixture in the high-end art world. They are both mothers of two, trying to build normal lives. But let us be real for a moment. As Andrew Loney pointed out, their jobs in client relations are largely based on being princesses. If you take away the Her Royal Highness status, the palace invites, and the proximity to the throne, are they still the high-flying professionals the world sees? It is the ultimate Nepo baby dilemma. When your brand is your bloodline, what happens when that bloodline becomes toxic? They are caught in a royal limbo, too royal to be commoners, but too York to be working royals. They are the faces of a branch of the family that the firm is desperately trying to prune. So, where does this leave us? The sisters are facing a future where their titles are more of a liability than a luxury. They are navigating a world where their father's past is a constant shadow over their professional and personal lives. While they may have their own careers, the tarnish mentioned by historians is a difficult thing to polish off. As the investigation into Prince Andrew continues, the sisters find themselves at a crossroads. Will they lean into their private lives and vanish from the public eye, or will they attempt a royal rebrand that even Prince William can't ignore? Only time, and perhaps a few more DOJ files, will tell. Thank you for watching Royal Fusion TV. What do you think? Should the sisters be held accountable for their father's associations, or is William being too harsh? Let us know in the comments below. See you in the next one.